My name is Mamadou Guèye, and I've been the upper school principal for the past 10 years, but this is my 35th year at Sidwell Friends.
And I'm Manka M'mari, a 9th grade student here at Sidwell, and welcome to the official student publication podcast. All right, so as we all know, you're retiring this year after 35 years. It's been an amazing time. You started from English to French to an upper school principal, and we're all just wondering, how did you hear about Quakerism and how did you get to Sidwell?
Yes, I got to Sidwell from way back. I heard about the school when I was teaching at the Washington International School. That was my first position when I came from Michigan State University to this area. And Sidwell Friends was really known by all of the independent schools. I used to hear the name and they said, whoa, that is one of the #1 schools in Washington, D.C. After Washington International School, where I was director of summer program, bilingual summer camp, and taught French, that's where I first taught a class of 15 students who were children of ambassadors and international Francophone people, and they were all speaking French, but they were like first grade. And I remember them telling me, why are we learning French? We speak French. And some of the French kids were saying, we are French. And I told them, you speak French, but you don't know how to write French, how to conjugate properly, how to write essays and all of that. Anyway, and after that, I went to Maryland for a semester, University of Maryland. And then after that semester, that was a PhD program. I left that PhD program second semester to take a position at GDS. It's from GDS really that I knew about Sidwell Friends, because the department chair then told me that, Mamadou, you know there is a position, a full-time position, French at Sidwell Friends. That was the fall of 1989. And they say, whoa, I have been hearing about that school for a long time. And they said, we would love to retain you at GDS, but we have 3 sections of French and 1 of Latin. Can you teach Latin? I say, no way. I've taken 2 semesters of Latin. And then I say, but I will give it a try. And I applied to the position and got a call, invited to interview, and the rest is history. And it was really, I was really glad I got the position, because it was very competitive then.
So, Quakerism.
Yeah.
Coming to Sidwell, this is a Quaker school, Quaker ideals, that is how things go here. So I was wondering, did you know about Quakerism before you came to Sidwell, and how did you adapt to this environment and new way of life here?
And not at all. The word Quakerism, I think I really knew about it after I started. You know, the orientation we have when I started in that fall. I think that's where I started, because the new teachers to Quakerism, we are sent to training. And we spent a day, I think it was in Philadelphia, Pendle Hill maybe. That's where we stayed for a full day, understanding what the religion meant and things like that. It was in October that we had that training. But before then, I am telling you, I know the IB program, Jewish Day School, Georgetown Day School. I knew about the Jewish faith. I was raised Muslim, but nothing about Quakerism, because in West Africa, really, it's a religion that is not known. In East Africa, I think you know that we have more Quakers than even the United States now. So I came in here, but when I heard about the Quaker ethos and the philosophy and the pedagogy, it really resonated very with me, being from African cultures where community, the word community, is just so important. And I think that was my first connection with Quakerism, is looking at the way I was raised, that the individual, not that in Quakerism the individual is not important, very important, but the sense of collective wisdom, the sense of being present in a community, just reminded me of everything my parents taught me when I was little.
So, keeping in mind you coming from Africa to America,
Mhm.
how is your identity? How is your identity as a Senegalese man, immigrant to America? How is that? Like, how's that helped you, and how has that like changed things in your experience here as a teacher?
Yeah, it being from Senegal, where it is really a multilingual society, you never run into a Senegalese who's monolingual, speaking one language now. So coming from Senegal and being a teaching assistant for 3 years at Michigan State University, the students used to be just so excited to hear that I speak 4 languages, even 5, because I speak a little bit of Arabic. I took Arabic at the International Baccalaureate. And so that was just amazing, because they are not just used to people who speak more than 2, 3 languages. And so how it informed everything I did here is, I mean, you have heard the adage talking about how your background can be a springboard or a cage. Dr. Adeyi talked about that with the week of West, you remember the Africa week? And that is one thing that has been helpful. Coming from Senegal gave me a sense of strength, a sense of worthiness, a sense of pride. And especially teaching languages here, where most of my students, I will ask who's speaking another language. In East Lansing, Michigan, it's not like even the DC area. It was almost everybody, oh, French is the only language I am studying now, speak English. So that influenced everything I've done here, because from the work I did with the African Studies Center at Michigan State University, trying to make students understand the world. Because, as Nelson Mandela said, speaking someone's language goes directly, it cut through their heart. To connect with someone, speak the language they speak. And so I came here with speaking English, so it made me connect with Americans, but I was speaking something they did not. And I was teaching them French and a little bit of Wolof. So I think that is, in terms of all of my commitment to diversity in teaching and in curriculum, really comes from my upbringing in Senegal.
So you have deepened, at your time at Sidol, it is known that you have deepened the idea of cultural differences among students and like shared humanity, this idea among students, and helping students focus on the journey more than the destination at the end of school. So I just wanted to hear a bit more about that, because I'm telling you, I've asked many people about them. They said, oh, Mamadou, he's really helping us know about our shared humanity, helping us focus on the journey of school and community. And I was curious about that.
Thank you. That is really what they call, remember the Mamadou Mondays, they talk about Mamadouism. But that is something I have believed in from way back when I was a little child running around in the village of Nyahar. Because most of the time, especially in schools, especially in developed nations, students, and it's not your fault, it's not the parents' fault, it's just society, it's the system that makes us just forget the moment and just think so much about just the outcome. It's what do I want to become? What do I want to do? How can I get a big house, a big car? How can I go to a highly ranked university? All of those things are great, but they are not the only things that are great. I think it is important to enjoy the journey. And when I say the journey, you come to upper school, 9th grade, and then in short 4 years you are a senior going to your next chapter. During these 4 years, if you spend all of the 4 years just focusing on the best grade you can get and focusing on, oh my God, stressing out about university, if I don't go to university X, I will disappoint my parents. That's why I kept on calling the student back to focusing on the journey. And what is the journey? The journey is what we are doing now. Student clubs, where students lead and learn how to enjoy the moment of being, their moments of being at Sidwell Friends. The journey is the relationships you are forming with your peers and with faculty. Because your teachers, when you think about it, if you make good relationships with your teachers, you will become lifelong friends. I cannot tell you how many weddings of former students I have gone to, who have invited me for the past 3 decades. And these are students I taught 20 years ago, or even fewer, and they're getting married, they invite me, simply because we've kept in touch. And so be present, be committed. I talked about the clubs, I talked about sports team, the dances, what is it, theater. Just do something that gets you outside the classroom. Now, saying that, because if you enjoying the journey is not opposed to also even getting good grades or anything. When you enjoy the journey, and the part of the journey is the classes you're taking, imagine going to class and just with the mindset of, oh my God, I will love this history topic today. I will really struggle with this math problem. I will kind of speak Chinese, French, or Spanish just like a native. Thinking about just having fun in those classes. When you do that, in fact, the outcome usually is good. When you focus on the daily operation of classrooms and enjoying going to ask help when you need it, it's just everything will be fine.
Keeping in mind fun and the journey, you've been a teacher here, principal. Well, do you have a favorite story? A favorite story as a teacher, or any role that you've been here? Is there something that you always remember or that brings you joy?
Yeah, well, it's really about it's a lot. It's a lot of things I remember that bring me joy. And when I tell you about how many students I have influenced, on May 2nd, when they had this Mamadou soirée, this big celebration, I cannot tell you how many students came to me to say, Mamadou, you have transformed my life. As an American who lived in Upper Northwest, my husband is French. I am teaching French, and I'm taking students to France and Senegal because you did all of these things for me. You took me to France twice. You taught me French and made me love the language and the culture. And I became a French teacher, and now in Ohio, in a boys' school, she is the principal of the middle school. It's pre-K through 8. And that story, there were also another student who went to Mali and met a former student of mine. Went to Mali and met the husband in there, who is from Switzerland. And the funny story about that was even the parents, when they invited me to an engagement party, the parents said, Mamadou, we sent our daughter to Sidwell, France to learn French. And because we were thinking that she will be going to Switzerland or Paris, France, or Belgium. And now she's in Africa. She's in Africa. But guess what happened in Africa? She's in Africa and met a Swiss guy in there. And so, Swiss speaking French, she's American in Africa. She could have met an African Malian also, would have been fine. But I went back to the parents and I just say, you see how when you believe, and I talked about the journey again. I say because she took risks. She wanted to do international development. She had a teacher who was coming from Senegal, and Mali is east of us. And so they were at the ceremony talking about those stories. There are also some funny stories where a former student told me, you will not remember this, but we used to have LOP. When we were LOP, for 2 weeks it used to be. We changed it to just 1 week now, and it was lunch detention last year. This year we take your cell phone. It's really nothing now. But before, it was public humiliation because you were walking around with a green sheet with all of your teachers, and every class the teacher have to sign. And publicly, every student will know that you're locked. And so if you skip a signature, the teacher, if you skip a teacher, you will get more points and continue the lock. So this student told me, I remember, because they used to call me Monsieur Guèye. Monsieur Guèye, I remember coming to you, and they say, oh, I forgot for you. He came to the department and say, I forgot for you to sign my log. I will get in trouble. Will you please sign it? And usually you have to have the teacher sign it after class to make sure you did not skip. And all your free periods were taken away. You were in study hall. So as I'm signing, I say, I can't believe I'm signing a log. I used to sign autograph when I played soccer. The kids will line up and I'm signing because I was a soccer star in Senegal. And now I'm signing log sheets. That's what she told me. And she said that was a story she will never, ever, ever forget.
Wow, from soccer star to principal.
Yeah, right.
So, when you started as a principal, did you have any specific goals in mind when you started working here at the upper school?
My biggest goal really in principal, and I think I'm happy we are where we are, I really came here focusing on mental health. Do you know I'm the principal also who talked to a sophomore who went to Brown one summer to do a course on mental health. And she just came back and told me that, and at that point I think the kids started calling me Mamadou, because no one called me Mamadou before I became, it was just Monsieur because I taught French. She came and sat with me and the psychologist there then, and said, I went to this program and I really think that Sidwell should be doing more in terms of mental health. I say, I totally agree with you. You know, this is one of the things I really want to focus my principalship on, because Sidwell is an academically rigorous, and we have been known as an academic power. All the schools say that the academic reputation of Sidwell is really great. Where we are not great is our mental health program. We have only one counselor. The counselor even used to be part-time for a school of 500 people. You know, from that, where it started, she said, I want to do a survey. I want to survey all of the school to see where they are in mental health. I say, oops, no, because surveys like that, if you do it as a student, what we're getting into, we don't know. That is a bigger, we don't let students really survey in mental health, but let me work with the mental health counselor and see what we come up with. So they worked and came up with not that survey as she wanted it, but came up with the first mental health week of the history of Sidwell that I know of. A full week of inviting psychologists and mental health counselors on campus for covering all topics, just as we're doing it every year now. That was 2015, because I started fall of 2014. 2015, that November, was the first in school history, and since then we've made it an institutional programming. So when Dr. Holmes came and Dr. Copeland, all of them now, we have that mental health, and then from then to now, look at how many mental health clubs we have. I think we have 5 of them.
Oh, yeah.
There was so much stigma on mental health issues, and I remember that kid who started the mental health program at that assembly said, my aim is for students to know that mental health is should not be stigmatized. Everybody will say, oh, I broke my leg, and it's seen. In 3 weeks, you know that you will be fine. In 3 months, for example. But when you have a mental health issue, it's just like breaking your leg. Why will you hide it? Go to someone who can help you. That was her message to the faculty and students. So that was a big thing for me. And the second big thing for me was hiring for diversity. I really looked at the school. When I came here, there was not a lot. It was like a handful of teachers of color. And the offices, administrative assistant, the school was really not, there was no diversity in faculty or staff. Not a lot. So the student body, not a lot. But I think that in the past 15 years, when I look at the student body now, it's just unbelievable. And when I came as principal, I said, well, not just I, but also PBS, Parents of Black Students, came and met with me, union plus parents of Asian students, plus parents of Latin American students. All of these affinity group parents were meeting with me monthly. It's just in the past couple of years when we had the director of EJC is meeting with them now. But I met with all of these, and they were also pushing me to something I really wanted to see. That's why in my hiring, I have been very intentional in getting people of color, because it just makes us all richer. When you have people of color and white people and all of these things in the building, everybody is learning from, because that's what America is. So I did that, and faculty, one of the institutional priorities from the self-study was, can we get close to having a faculty that reflects our student body? And now the student body is like 54% of students are seeing themselves or reporting themselves as students of color, because it's you have to decide, right? And now for faculty, we are at 35% school-wide. So we are not there yet. But at some point, it was very, very much lower than that. I remember being in this building with only 2 or 3 other black teachers. So those are, I think that in the curriculum, working with department heads, especially in social studies, English department, history department, I've loved the changes I've seen in what they're reading in the books. And this was just conversations that I kept engaging department heads about, a curriculum that is also diverse, because I really believe that the canon can be defined in a wider way. I mean, we have British lit. You have to learn Shakespeare if you want to major in English or know English literature at all. I mean, there are some giants in Western canon that you need to know. But also there are other giants in Anglophone literature. When you go to, Indian writers, Kenyan, Sierra Leone, Pakistanis. You just have, these are things that I really believe in, because I'm also trained in the French I teach is Francophone. It's a lot of French authors who are not born in France. They are born in West Africa or the Caribbean. And that's the course I used to teach French 5, Francophone lit. Francophone means speaking. And that's wider than France, the country that colonized all of these countries that have produced very important literature.
So we know about your soccer history, and I was wondering how that, I understand you came to America for soccer?
No. I wanted to go to France for soccer. And one of the things one of the things maybe people don't know about me. Soccer almost really took my life away from school, because I was that good when between the age of 16, I will say, and 22. And Senegal did not have professional soccer. I think that if I was born now in like the kids who are 21, 25, playing in all of these leagues, I think I would have had a bigger chance. So I was thinking about going to France, because coming to America, remember, America is English. So my entire education was in French. So it's easier to go to France than come to the US. And so I was in this soccer thing where I was just hoping to be recruited by these. They come to Africa, developing nation, the coaches from France, recruiting on university and high school. And that's what I wanted to do, even if I made it to second division, because my playing soccer in Senegal was amateur. It's just like it's a national sport, you play for fun, but you don't get paid. You play for the glory, the newspapers will have you. And then you walk around and you are a superstar with no money. So I was thinking about going, and my dad is the one who told me that I've never seen someone at 40 playing soccer. I've seen teachers and doctors at age 70, 80. This soccer thing I really don't get, and son, I want you to focus on school. That really changed the course. That's when I started saying, whoa, I never heard it put that way. And my dad, something people don't know about me is neither my dad nor my mom went to school. And another thing people don't know about me is I spoke 2 languages, national languages, Wolof and Serer before one day getting into a French school at age 6, 7, and I was not allowed to speak my mother tongue for the rest of my school year up to baccalaureate. In school, in elementary school especially, you're not allowed to speak your local languages. It has to be French. That's what the colonial system did. Because they say if we let them speak their languages, they will never master French. So I was saying this to say, if I had not listened to my dad, and some of my friends did, they went to France, played, some got injured and did not manage their money well. They're struggling because they did not get education. I took a different trajectory. I focused in school, was the chairman of the English club by the time I got the University of Dakar, and was the first student from the university in '84 to be given a full ride to go to Kalamazoo College for 1 semester and take any course I want and teach French to first and second year. And then after that semester, they transferred me to Michigan State University to do graduate. And they say I was teaching English in Senegal because I really loved English. And I started English in like the equivalent of 7th grade. But by the time I get to 12th grade, I was proficient enough to be able to teach it to elementary school. I used to do that in private school. So, from there, what I wanted to do is get a PhD in English. I think you and I talked about this in our advisory. I wanted to go back to Senegal and be an English professor, because in Senegal, before coming here, most of my training was English and Anglophone literature. I was studying French, of course, at the university. So people thought I went to the US. Well, that's why I came to the US. But Michigan State say, well, we cannot fund English. We have a lot of English professors here. You have to do French. We want you to teach French and be in the French department. Now you can do another PhD. You can do a PhD in French, Francophone. I say, but for me, I mean, the French, I have been studying French my whole life. I don't need a PhD in French. Anyway, I end up working on curriculum development. Long story short, I did a master's. Also, when you look at my resume, even I did a master's in French. That took me, I don't know how many months, not long. But that's not really what I wanted to do. But the US, they wanted me. That's why I'm at Sidwell. At Sidwell, if I came from Senegal applying for English position, no one would hire me. But French, I am a native speaker of French. I speak it as well as any French teacher in front of me. So that's how, you see how my trajectory was changed. And then 35 years later, I'm at Sidwell French, known as the French teacher. And I taught until 2019. I think I told you that when, after the pandemic hit, even as principal, I taught for 5 years, teaching just one advanced class. But that's part of the journey. The journey sometimes, it's not to say that you go this time and sometimes the journey can turn you into something else.
So you were multilingual, speaking up to about 5 languages. So I remember you noted earlier about how in school you weren't able to speak your native tongue. So how did you continue to keep building up with other languages? That is so keeping connected. That is such an excellent question, because when I go to Senegal today and I'm speaking Serer and Wolof, my Serer and Wolof is even more pure in a way, more traditionalist, because when you are abroad, you keep these adage, and the way I speak is so, even the kids nowadays, they speak and they put French and English and all of that. They speak broken local languages. Since the system did not allow to teach local languages until the university, I forgot to tell you, I'm the first generation who took Wolof, the national language of Senegal, at the University of Dakar. It was the first year, this is late 70s, the first time Wolof was taught in the institution. And my BA, the bachelor's degree, says English and Wolof. I minored in Wolof, and that was intentional, because I say I would like to know how to write my Senegalese language. I am writing English, writing French.
both two languages, the language of the colonizers, and my own language, they denied me. And so I was rebelling against the whole colonial system, and I took that language, and that's why I write in English today. And Sarah, many Senegalese don't. Many Senegalese who were not linguists don't write local languages. And this is the assimilationist policies of France, because France wanted all the colonies, people in the colonies and students to be totally assimilated. It's the policy of assimilation, which is the reason why I was saying education can be, at its best, it liberates you, at its worst, it alienates you. And you have to find, because all the alienation that the French system was trying to do to me, I rejected. I learned the language and used the language to reject what they were trying to do. And to date, I'm telling you, African countries, this is why, have you heard about Ngugi wa Thiong'o?
No.
The big Africanist from Kenya, who's writing about local, he's the one who wrote a whole novel of 200 and something pages in Gikuyu, but had to translate it. It's Devil on the Cross. In the 80s, Devil on the Cross had to be translated in English to sell, because Kenyan, many of them don't read the local languages. And he was a professor at Yale Northwestern University. I saw him in DC at the big conference 5 years ago, 2019 it was. And so you have these African intellectual giants who are revitalizing local languages, because that's what colonialism took away from us. But it did not have to be that way, because also the good thing about it, without French, probably I would not have been talking to you today, because Sidwell, if I did not learn French and teach it, probably I would not have a job. But if we had Wolof, maybe Sidwell will be teaching Wolof. In fact, I tried to teach Wolof at Sidwell once, because we don't have any African language taught here. Mangi ferek, nakawa kirga, ngani jamrek. Yeah.
So now it's come full circle.
Okay.
You finished your 35 years here at Sidwell, and I was just wondering, what advice do you have for students, teachers, faculty, all alike for the years to come?
Yeah, the advice is really, I go back to the advice I've given here for 35 years. It starts first with really being grateful. I use the word gratitude, and it comes from my heart, because the advice I'm giving people is just be grateful for what you have and who you are, and believe that as a Sidwell French student, no other student is better than you. You may not be better than anyone either. They're just human beings. And look at people as human beings and stop focusing so much on what you don't have. Cherish what you have. And that is, you know what the French philosopher said about life that is resonated well with me, the reason why you can be grateful. Every month, you should go to a cemetery and a hospital, visit a cemetery, a hospital, and go to church or mosque or synagogue to pray. You know why? When you go to a cemetery, what do you find?
Graves and headstones.
Graves and names, 1950 to 1952. There are people who did not even live to be 1 year old, 2, 3, let alone 15, 20, 25. When you go to hospital, what do you see?
Sick people.
Sick people who are being fed. They can't walk, some can't talk, and some can be hospitalized for things. So you are at Sidwell, France, and you can play soccer, you can play outside. Look at how beautiful it is outside. The kids are playing. And then at Sidwell, France, what are you complaining about? Homework. You say, oh my God, this is just too much work. I don't want to take that away for you. But if you think that Sidwell, France, homework and the demands of the teachers is too much, try farming. When I was little, I used to go with my dad in the summer in the farm. That is the full day, and it's 100 degrees outside, mosquitoes and snakes and things running around, and you're trying to cut the grass. That is much harder than doing homework multivariable calculus or French text or writing an essay in an air control environment. Try construction. I was talking earlier, when I sat here one summer and they were putting this turf, and I look at the workers, it was at 1, 2 o'clock they had to stop because one day it was so hot. They were burning to their thing because they're outside, no air condition, and kneeling on the turf. You know, the tar is so hot. That is construction, and they do the roads like that over the summer. Compare that to, and I'm not belittling you, and I was sitting here in my office writing summer letters in the air condition, and I look at it, I say, I could have been these people. I could have been these people doing this hard work. What I am doing is a God-given opportunity to be in like white-collar jobs where you are just using your brain and books. Writing is books. I'm paid to just talk, to write. I mean, that is not a hard job. It really is not. And so when you have that, I want faculty and staff and parents to have a perspective that will help them be grateful, be generous with other people, and also have good intent. That when people say something that can even insult you, just say maybe they did not mean it. Those were the 3 G's. I always talked about generosity, goodwill, and gratitude, because the people are missing. It's all about people. When I leave Sidwell Friends, do you know who will remember me?
Everyone will remember you.
Everyone who met me will remember me. But do you think that this office will remember me? No, because it's bricks, it's buildings. Mm-hmm. Buildings will not remember me. This is why people are the most important things you have. The only remembrance they will have, yes, they will name the principal suite after Mamadou Guèye, the Mamadou Guèye principal. Did you know that?
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Yeah. Yes. They have named the African and African American chair after Mamadou Guèye. Like the Super VA chair, they will be the Mamadou Guèye chair for African American studies, because I started that work in the 90s when it was not popular, when I had a club called Gesto, meaning to deepen understanding of other cultures. So that's what I want Sidwell to continue to work on, understanding cultures, internationalists, try to learn other language, travel if you want, if you can, and be kind. Because kindness can and work hard to come close to happiness. Happiness does not come to you. You have to work hard. Kids tell me, Mamadou, I mean, not even kids, security guys told me, man, you are good. You always smile whenever I see you, you're smiling. And guess what? I have something to cry for too. But I don't want the negative things in my life to steal the narrative. Focus on the positive, work hard, happiness. In Mies Fields, I don't know, the college counseling, we have a counselor who's the door, it says, happiness is hard work.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. It's hard work. So that's really the takeaway, the message I'm leaving here is really about really be in relationship with people. In the end, the only people you have, the only thing you have really are people. They are the one who will show up and stand up in good time or in bad times. It's not a car or a house, or it's not material things. Those are good to just keep us happy a little bit, but anyway, you told me not to be long-winded, but what time is it now? Anything else?
Well, we just want to thank you. I can't speak for the whole student body, but thank you for all that you've done for us. This is my first year, but it's been great.
No, but thank you back, because I have become the person I have become today, going into retirements and trying to give back to Senegal. They sent me here. I did not have a plane ticket to come. The government sent me here because I was a good student. My parents would have never had the money to send me to the United States. That's why when I'm talking about building a school, an international center that will welcome you, Sidwell students, I hope in a couple of years, I took all of that from Sidwell. So because Sidwell has really formed me as a person, as a professional, Sidwell has allowed me to grow internally for all of the positions I've held here, from full-time French teacher to director of summer school, department head, academic dean to principalship. I mean, that's a lot in 35 years. And every position I've had, I've really enjoyed. Thank you, friend.
Thank you.